In today's tutorial video, we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful top. In my last tutorial, I taught you guys how to cut it. So if you're interested in this, sit back, relax, and let's get started. Now here are my pattern pieces on top the table, and I also have my fabric. I'm making use of a milk color crepe. I have about 2.5 yards right there. The 2.5 yards is enough, very enough. All right. Now we are going to go ahead and review our pattern again. All right, so I have my front and the back pattern on top of the table. Here is the back piece. We have already added all our allowances. Our side seam allowance is there, and the zipper allowance is there. The shoulder allowance is also there. Now here is my front piece. This is the side of the front. Remember, the front was not cut on fold. Okay, this is a open pattern, and the front also has a slash and spread to add fullness to the front. So if you haven't watched the cutting of this particular video, please go watch it before you come over to this one. Now you're going to have to adjust this pattern a little. I want to show you something, because when I was cutting it, I omitted that part. You see where I'm touching right now? I'm still going to cut it out. Okay, so I'm going to fold it so that we cut it out. I'm going to bring in the other side of the pattern so you understand what I'm trying to say. You see these parts? So I want it to align properly. You can see that a paper is still shooting out, which is going to affect our pattern if we leave it. So we need it to stay like this. And you can see that we have extra paper around that side, because if we don't adjust it, it's going to affect the entire pattern or the entire sewing. So I need to cut out this extra paper that is shooting out. All right, so I'm going to bring in my marker pen and outline it so you understand. So look at it. The thing is that when I was trying to like slash and spread, I totally forgot that I was supposed to cut out that part. So you can see the way I folded my pattern and then I tried to adjust it and then cut it out. So yeah, this is how it should look. Just make sure that before you cut it, you adjust your pattern just like this. Okay, now that I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and start to cut it out. So we are going to bring in our fabric, bring in the fabric, put it on top of the table, and then we cut out the front part first. Remember, this is an open pattern. The pattern is not on fold for the front. The back is only the part that is on fold, right? And this is also an asymmetric neckline. So I'm going to place my paper on top of the pattern. Now I did not fold my fabric into two before placing it. The fabric is open because I just need to cut out one piece. Right now I'm trying to show you that I've added my side seam allowance. The only place we are going to be adding allowance right now is the down part. So for the down parts, I added just 1 inch, which is for the folding allowance of the hemline. Now for these parts, I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch. This part, we are going to sew it in. Right? And then for this part that I'm cutting right now, where my scissors is, I'm also going to be adding 1/2 inch. Now this part is the part that is going to be sewed with the other smaller piece. Okay, it's only that we are going to run a gather stitch on this part and then join it to the other smaller piece. Now for the side seam, there is no allowance because we already added it on fabric. For the armhole, no seam allowance, we are already added it on the pattern. And also the shoulder area, no seam allowance, we already did that on the pattern. Okay, now guys, for some reason this entire cutting like disturbed me. If you notice, I was struggling with it because the fabric was trying to pull off the table. This table is not padded, so the fabric was trying to slip away. So if you notice, I'm struggling to cut this out. You can see the way the fabric just pull off the table immediately I was done cutting. So now for this part where I am, okay, I'm going to adjust it a little because I like input an allowance that is bigger than half an inch. Okay, so that particular part only needs half an inch seam allowance. So yeah, this is it. We are done, and I'm going to like raise this pattern and then notch this area. Now this area is where I'm going to start to run my gather stitch. Okay, so I'm going to be notching them one after the other and then explain what is going to be done there. Now here is where I'm going to fold in, and then here is where I'm going to end my gather stitch. Okay, so from that upper part to that down, we're going to run a gather stitch. Maybe by the time I remove my pins, remove the paper, I'm going to like try to gather it so that you understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so from that part to the down parts, can you see what I'm doing is where we are going to end our gather stitch and join it to the smaller piece. Now we are going to cut out this part of the fabric. For some reason, I don't know why I keep cutting twice for this front part, because I totally forgot that this is an open pattern. You can see I folded into two, but please do not waste your fabric like I just did. Okay, you can see I went ahead to cut out two pieces for this, but you are only supposed to cut out one piece, please. So for the down part, I added 1 inch seam, which is for the folding of the hemline, and then for the side which I'm going to be joining to the bigger parts, I added half an inch. Now the side seam, no seam allowance because we already have it on the pattern. Okay, so I'm going to also notch this part, which is where the slits is going to stop, right? So from this part to the hemline, we are going to fold it in, and then the other side we are going to join it to where we're going to run a gather stitch. All right, so please try as much as possible to indicate the wrong part and the right part. You can see now I'm going to go ahead and cut out the shoulder area. Okay, you know that one side of the pattern has a joined shoulder, so that is what I'm trying to cut out right now. You can see I still folded into 4, thinking that I have to cut out 2 pieces. I don't know, like this thing skipped my mind, but please do not waste your fabric. And then for the center is supposed to be on folds, or if you want to like have a seam allowance, that means you're going to add half an inch seam allowance and then turn it. But for me, I placed it on folds so that I will not have like a stitch around that part. Now for the down parts, I added half an inch. Okay, and for the shoulder, no seam allowance because we already did that on the pattern. And then for the armhole, no seam allowance, we did that on the pattern. Okay, so I'm going to notch the middle parts and then we put it aside so that we can cut out the back. Now I've placed my back on top the table. Now this part is going to be cut on folds, right? Because the pattern is supposed to be 2 pieces. Sorry, the pieces is supposed to be 2 pieces. Okay, so the only place I'm going to be adding seam allowance is the hemline, which is 1 inch for turning the hemline. Every other part, I'm not going to add any seam allowance because we already did that on the pattern. So yeah, that is it. So once I'm done cutting this, I'm also going to cut out the zipper area. Can you see? So that is what I'm trying to cut out right now. And please, after cutting it, do not forget to place a notch around the zipper area. Very important. Okay, and the zipper allowance is just 1 inch. You can use whatever you want, but when we were cutting it, it's just 1 inch that we added. The side seam allowance we added just 1 inch as well. Okay, the shoulder allowance we added 1/2 inch, the armhole allowance we added 1/2 inch. So we are done with this. Now we are going to fold our fabric and then we cut out the facing. Okay, so first I'm going to start by cutting out the facing for the back. We already know how to cut out this facing, except you are a beginner. Please watch carefully. So for the back, you're going to place your fabric on fold, and then you place in your piece, and then you cut out your facing around the neckline. Okay, so that is basically what I'm trying to do here. It is not that hard. Okay, you can see I'm also trying to notch my zipper area, and then the depth of my facing, I made it just 3 inches. And you see, even though I didn't use my chalk to outline it, I already know my 3 inches. So yeah, that is it. We are done with cutting out the facing for the back. Okay, now we are going to repeat the same for the fronts, right? So I'm going to fold my fabric and then bring in the front piece so that we cut out the facing. Now for the front piece, it's going to still be open because we just have one piece for the front. Okay, the back is the only place that we cut out 2 pieces of facing. So I'm trying to arrange the front piece, and then I'm going to follow the neckline to cut out the facing, still the same way we did for the back, right? So that is basically what I'm trying to do here, as you can see. So the first thing you want to do is to follow what you have around the neckline, and then cut, enter through till the shoulder. Can you see what I'm doing? So enter through the shoulder. If you want it to extend towards the armhole, you can cut through the armhole. Okay, but now I don't want it to get to the armhole, so right here I'm trying to mark out 3 inches, right? Because this one is asymmetric, is not straight, so I am not sure I'm going to be able to eyeball it, so I want to be sure of what I'm cutting out. So I'm trying to mark out 3 inches until I get to the other side. Can you see what I'm doing? Now once I'm done marking it out, I'll go ahead and use my scissors to cut it out. Can you see? So yeah, that is it. So I'm done cutting it out, and yeah, I'm going to place it for you to see what it should look like. So this is it. Can you see what it looks like? And for this part, I ensure that it enters through to the armhole. Okay, because I really do not want to like use hemming gum to hold it. Okay, now this is my basic sleeve. So for this particular dress, we use a basic sleeve. Basic sleeve is something you can actually cut out, so this is me just trying to cut it out. It is so simple. So go ahead and cut out your basic sleeve, and that is what you're going to be adding to this dress. So I'm going to show you all my pieces, and after that we go ahead and start to join them together. So guys, here are all my pieces for the front and the back with the facing inclusive. Now we are going to start sewing the pieces together. I'll be starting with the front. So here is the bigger part of the front. I'm going to place in the facing on the neckline. So I'm trying to arrange them so that you have a better view of what we are going to sew. Now here is the smaller parts. We have a place that we notch, which is this part. So this is what it should look like. Now what I'll be going over to my sewing machine to do is to run a gather stitch around this part, starting from where I told you the stitch is going to end to where it's going to start. Okay, so I'm going to run a gather stitch, then gather it and sew it into the other parts. Now from here to the down part, I'm going to weave it and then fold it in just with 1/2 inch. Okay, just like this. You can see what I'm trying to explain. So I'm going to fold it in like this after I must have weaved it, right? And this is what it should look like. Now for the down part, I'm going to weave it and fold in using just 1 inch that I added for the hemming allowance. Okay, so now and then after that, I'm going to go ahead and sew in the shoulder part of this. Okay, now I'm going to be showing you how you will sew it in. Remember the part I added 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm going to turn it this way and then I'm going to sew it into these parts before turning it with my facing. All right, now I'll be raising up this facing so that I will show you how you should place it. So it's going to stay like this. Okay, so I'm trying to use my pin to hold it down. Now it's going to stay like that, and then you're going to turn it with your facing. Now please remember to weave the hemline of the facing. Even though this fabric does not fray, you can go ahead and weave it to have a neat finishing. Okay, so that is that for the front. Now for the back, the first thing I'll be doing is to weave the hemline and then fold in with 1 inch. Now after doing that, I will sew in my zipper. So I'm going to bring in my zip. Here is my zip. I will sew in my zipper before turning it with the facing. Okay, so that is what I'm going to move over to my sewing machine to do. Now you guys, I feel like the sewing part of this is so simple. So right now I am done hemming the down part and joining the smaller piece of the front to the bigger piece. I have also joined one part of the shoulder of the front, turned the hemline for both the front and the back, and then added my zipper to the back. So this is me just trying to show you what it looks like. Can you see? So now I'm going to go ahead and sew in my facing. I just want to show you what it looks like before joining in my facing. Okay, so as you can see, for the back I've sewed in the zipper, and for the front I've sewed in the smaller parts to the bigger parts, and I've as well turned the hemline of both the front and the back. And for the front, I've joined the smaller shoulder. Okay, so now we are going to turn this with the facing. So you can see I'm trying to place in the facing of the front. I'm going to hold it with my pins. Okay, now after holding it with my pins, I will go and stitch using 1/2 inch around the neckline, and after that I'm going to top stitch. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do. Now after the front, you're going to repeat the same thing for the back. So for the back, I'll open up my zipper and then I'm going to sew in the facing, just like I'm trying to show you. So I'll hold it down with the pins, and after that I'll go and stitch with 1/2 inch. Okay, and also after that I'm going to top stitch. So I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. So I'm trying to do this because I want a clean finished look. Okay, you can actually turn the neckline with your facing before joining your zipper, but I feel like this is a better way to do this if you are making an English wear. So yeah, I am done doing that, and this is what it looks like. Can you see how clean and neat this is looking. So now after that, you're going to like place the front and the back facing each other, and then we're going to join the shoulders together just like this. Okay, so I'm going to join it like this using 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to do that for both the shoulders, right? And after that, I will also go ahead and join the side seam allowance. Okay, now the side seam I added as 1 inch, and that is what I'm going to use to stitch it together. So guys, after stitching the side seam, I'll go ahead and fixing the sleeve into the armhole. Here is my basic sleeve. I have hemmed the down part and torn the side seam, so I will go ahead and fix it into the top. And you guys, this is the finished look. I feel like this is so beautiful. The only mistake here was the space in between the slits. Can you see? It's a little too much. Now I feel like if you want it closer, you should bring it downwards a little, okay? Better than what I have. So this is what it looks like on me. If you find this tutorial helpful, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next one.